So, first and foremost, it is the Candlemas Festival this evening. Actually, it's a couple-day festival with a night vigil and all that. They used to make a bonfire, which was blessed by the sacred tradition of the land in Europe, whatever priests, druids, and they would have the leading member of each household come forth and take a branch and light it from the central fire, and then light the home's hearth fire with that, therefore spreading the blessings through the land. It's not what I'm here to talk to you tonight about. Something that's been coming up more and more with people's questions, particularly towards my inclinations. First of all, to answer some questions, I got involved into this over 13 years ago. Was involved with the Viral Druid tradition, my introduction, and then slowly to other organizations, groups, memberships, apprenticeships. A lot of knowledge, and so knowledge is one of the things that I express. Knowledge is one of the things that I distribute. However, it should be understood, as is I am liable for this knowledge, as people time and time again wish to project onto me. They'll ask me what happens, when some kid misuses the Necronomicon on your behalf, or, buys your book, or does something where it ends up working out negatively for them. So it should be understood, first and foremost, that this is information, knowledge. Understand what has been done, what can be done, potentially what will be done. When you submit yourself to a system in whole, in its entirety, you devote yourself to the system, you work with certain spirits repetitively to that system, you make sacrifice, either even with something as simple as your time and your energy, your attention, and by evoking those spirits' names, you do seal yourself within that system. It's interesting because, like, for example, the enochian system, those that first had it, those that developed it, John D. Edward Kelly, were forbidden to use the system. And later we find out with analyses of, like, Donald Tyson, that the system may very well be the key to the apocalypse. And Aleister Crowley was very interested in accessing by such magic the gate to the outside to bring forth this force. And, for example, with the Necronomicon alluded to in Lovecraftian work actually opens the gate to the outside, actually is a trapping for humans to use, so in which they can bring these forces back, which will therefore take over humanity and further enslave us, as once happened in the distant past, which has continued to happen with the pyramid today in the form of capitalistic pyramids and the money system. But again, beyond what we're here to discuss, in truth, what these systems will do is basically entrap you within those realities. Now, that is not to say not to use it, not to study it, that it can't be used for gain, but a lot of people do things for their own ego, or for the purposes of some mundane means. And for the example of ceremonial magics and very powerful systems like that, there is not much to be gained in terms of mundane material means with those. That is not what those are for. To upgrade yourself with the knowledge in which you have abilities trapped within your subconscious to materialize your reality, that is one thing altogether. But these systems of magic, these grimoires, were often designed by specific entities and given that to which the magicians themselves were often in fear of these powers that they were evoking. They were afraid to even speak the names, and afraid in general. And by some of the questions that I've received, it's clear that it lacks it a lot, but the description given on the Mardukite YouTube page as far as Mardukite Chamberlains, and the purpose of magic, systems of magic, can go against exactly what I'm trying to explain or put forth as far as what it says there. And the exploration of all magics is what I do, is what I present. That doesn't mean that I'm an advocate to condone for or against systems. It's simply that I have worked through them, I've practiced them with other people over the years, developed groups over the years for no other purpose but to find what works and what doesn't, and what can be modified or what can be more easily relayed. And that is how the published work came to be. And only within the last several months have I started actually making an online appearance or doing anything like that again, especially under the guise of Joshua Free, since in the 90s it was done under Merlin Stone. And several thousand books under that name, Merlin Stone, were distributed. One of the main means being through Abyss Distribution, that's now known as Azure Green, to a lot of shops and whatnot. And though I took a 7-year underground vacation, that is where we are now.